One time I had a guy offer to let me chop off his toe to get an appointment. I declined because my lawyer told me I'd have to do it offshore or I'll get sued. So I didn't do it. But looking back, I should have just done it. I have lots of human body parts in jars, but no toes. I was on the Family Values tour with Limp Bizkit and I think it was Korn. We got there, I rented a car, and I drove up like an hour to this doctor's place. We'd gotten in touch and he was selling off some of his collection, which human specimens and that sort of thing. Baby specimens in jars, fetuses and that kind of stuff, which don't ask why, but I collect them. So I drove back, dropped off the rental car, and I brought the box of fetuses into the green room where everybody was hanging out. And the one who was most intrigued with them was Head from Korn. And the one who was most scared and creeped out was Les from Primus. I remember clearly, no matter where I stood in the room, certain people like Les always made sure they were facing me. They never turned their back on me the whole time, and I knew it was because they didn't know what to make of me, you know. I've always been the freak in the bunch, so so that was fun. You know, the stories back then, I guess they were more typical shop stories than what I experience now. The two hotties that came in wanting matching spiders on their things like that, you know. Oh, I had a guy puke on me once in my early days. Apparently he was drunk and I didn't realize it. This was like my first few months of tattooing. He passed out and I asked my boss, I'm like, what should I do? Do I wake him up? I never had anyone pass out before. And he said, no, just keep tattooing him while he's passed out. When he wakes up, it'll be done. I'm like, all right. So I kept tattooing him, and then like 5 minutes later, he just jumped up and puked all over my lap, just like I had puked down my legs. I made his girlfriend clean it up because I wasn't cleaning it. Not my pants, but my floor. And I had to ride my bike home, my motorcycle home to change. By the time I get home, the puke was like stuck to my legs, you know, it was disgusting. This guy got rip-roaring drunk while I was tattooing him, and I kept telling him to stop, and he wouldn't stop moving. And I said, listen, man, if you don't stop moving, I'm gonna fucking duct tape you to the chair. And he didn't listen to me, so I duct taped his ass to the chair. And I've lost my patience for bullshit, so like, when you get in my chair, be serious, don't waste my time. I'll do what I gotta do. I did an interview and I talked about how much I hate the Catholic Church and Christianity in general. This was towards the end of the whole satanic panic era. I ended up getting death threats. I was getting calls for weeks after that interview came out in the magazine. Crazy Christians threatening to shoot my face off and coming to get me. And it was kind of fun, you know. Death threats are fun, I don't know. Maybe I'm just crazy, but you feel special when you got people calling you wanting to kill you, you know. I had two guys get in a fist fight at a convention once because they were arguing over who got there first to get a tattoo. Yeah, so I had a line of people camping out overnight to get in, like concert tickets. It was ridiculous. And what was it, a line of like 30 people or something, I don't know. But the cops came in the middle of the night wanting to take them all to a shelter because they thought it was a group of homeless people. The first guy in line was a cop, so he cooled the situation. Another time I offered a free $1,000 tattoo to the first come, first serve at this big party we were doing at my studio years ago. This guy showed up right before the doors opened, walked up to like the first 3 people in line and offered them $1,000 to take their spot. So at the second or third guy in line, took the money and walked out, and the guy that had the money stepped right in. The thing about me is belligerent and rebellious, and I don't do well with authority figures. Canada. I went to Canada one time. This was like 3 or 4 months after Columbine, and I showed up in Canada with a black trench coat and a big satanic pendant on my chest back in my early days. And sometimes I get in a hassle at immigration, but it's rare. But when I do, it's usually because I don't take any shit and I get back in their face. And this woman immigration officer, of course, gave me a hard time. And she's going through all my shit, and she goes, "What religion are you?" And I'm like, "My religion's none of your business, you know?" And she's like, "It is my business." And I'm like, "Well, I got my rights." And, "You don't have no rights here," and all this shit. And we got into a heated religious argument about Jesus Christ. And I'm yelling at her, and she's yelling at me. And now this is Canada, where a lot of these immigration officers are not so tough, you know. And there must have been 4 of them standing around us not knowing what to do. And I'm like screaming at her, and nobody knew what to do because they couldn't tell if I was going to be violent or not, because I'm arguing like sensible arguments, not just like F this and F that, you know. And I was there 4.5 hours and arguing, and they actually let me in the country after all that. I was surprised, but I think because it was such a heated religious argument that they didn't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. I get the craziest gifts from my clients, and I love them all. I collect weird things no matter what they are, really. So I can't tell you how many babies in jars I've gotten. Lots of stuff like that, skulls and weird things, you know. My clientele are pretty hardcore, and the ones that are artists tend to make art that, you know, if they gift me something, it has something to do with last rites, like my Rhodian skull or symbol. So, you know, I get fans and clients sending me art all the time, even today. So, you know, it's pretty cool because I like the feeling that, you know, my history and my art inspire people to make more art. So those are the gifts I appreciate the most.